This technique that I'm going to show you now is actually planing down the sides by hand and the back. Now, it's not easy to do, and it is a fair bit of effort to do. You'll need a very good plane like this one, which is a Lee Nielsen, they call it a 5.5 bench plane. It's got a 14 3/4 inch base. It's got a fair bit of weight in it, and that's the sort of thing that I use when I'm doing this sort of work. Also, you'll need a dial caliper set up like this, and what this does is measure the thickness of your sides and your back by just placing the timber underneath the dial caliper, dropping it down, and then you can actually read the measurement that you need to get to take it down to that 2 mil. So that's something else you'll need. You'll need a sanding stick like this, nice long sanding stick, because again, you'll get so close with the plane and then you'll finalise it by just using a big sanding stick down to the 2 mil, as I say, that you'll need to bend the timber. I've got a piece of timber clamped onto the side like that, just to hold it in place. So what I'm going to be doing is doing one section, one side, doing the other one, spinning it round, doing that. So as I say, it's a little bit of work, but again, very rewarding when you do it this way. When you do the backs, I've got half of a back here. It actually is better if it's glued together, because what you can do then is do one complete side of the back, because the other side will be clamped onto the bench. I'm still going to plane this for you just to give you an idea of how it comes off, but it is always good to actually have it glued together before you start this process. With your plane, you don't want it set too deep. You don't want to be taking off too much. As you can see, I've given this a little bit of a plane, and you can see how fine the shavings are. So you might have to make adjustments as you go. Just depends on, again, how much fiddleback through the timber, how the grain's actually running. But just adjust it as you need to do it. Obviously, a very sharp blade, but that's sort of shavings you want. You don't want to be taking off a lot. That's difficult because, again, you're getting timber that might be like 4 mil thick that you're taking down to 2 mil, and as I say, it's a bit of work. So we'll have a little bit of a plane on this one, and I'll just show you what I mean. And you can see nice long even strokes, but just very fine shavings are coming off. And there's less chance then of actually grabbing into the grain. So if it starts doing that, you just need to wind and adjust your plane back a little bit so it doesn't grab so much. Again, always keep it clean, get rid of the shavings. Now it's a nice easy motion too. Again, I'm not forcing the plane, I'm letting the weight of the plane, because I say it's quite heavy, and the actual size of it direct where I'm going. So you can see I've actually planed just this section, I've sanded it, I'll spin it round and do the same thing and just continually throw it onto my dial caliper and check to see the thickness is coming down even. So I'm just going to do a little bit of planing on the back. As I said, it is easier when the back is actually joined. You've got more to actually clamp down to secure. I've just run another little piece of timber across there just to hold this one piece. So you can see it's coming off again nice and fine. One of the great things about doing this is it's extremely rewarding because you can actually really start to see the figure of the timber come out. And it's got this beautiful sheen to it. And it's one thing I love about doing it by hand. If you're going to be doing it by hand, maybe you want to ask your supplier maybe not to send it to you at 5mm, which is the North Standard sort of thickness, maybe around 3.5, 4mm, so you haven't got so much work to do on your first one. But as I say, it is rewarding. So you can keep going like that, and again move right across your board, keep measuring it. Another little tool that's handy is your scraper for going down and evening out any little ridges that you might have in it by using the plane, and this again will level it right out. Again, just push it in. Just like that. Now if you've got a good plane, which this one is, scrapers and sanding, it'll come up absolutely beautiful. It'll be just, you know, it'll actually need very little sanding at the end of your guitar. It'll have such a nice finish on it. There's nothing like using a really good plane when you're working with timber, because a clean cut is just beautiful. Beautiful. So that's one way of doing your back and your sides. It might be a good idea to maybe do your soundboard first, because as a softwood it'll be easier for you to plane and easier for you to get down. So that's another consideration. And again, maybe not pick a piece of timber like this blackwood, which is quite highly figured. Do something easy, do something simple. Again, it's with guitar making, I'm sure with a lot of things, it's just technique. Once you get the technique, you'll be fine. Before we finish up, I'm going to actually show you another piece of equipment which you can use. It's called a drum sander, and it's what I've been using during the DVD, but the one I've been using is actually quite big. This is a smaller version. Now this particular unit is fine for doing all this sort of work of thinning down your sides and your back. It's got a cylinder there with a sandpaper with the drum on it, hence the name, drum sander. What you can do with this one though, it's actually quite narrow. The one I've got is about 635mm wide, so it's quite big. But with your actual tops and your backs, which are joined, you feed it through that way, spin it round and feed it through that way. Obviously with your sides you don't have to do that, but with a top and a back. So you just feed it through both ways. It's got adjustment up here, variable speed. And again, a really good unit. They cost around $1,000, so it's not too bad. And again, that's another way of doing all your bindings and anything like your fretboard to level that out. So if you're really looking at getting into guitar making as a career, I'd get one of these because they are extremely handy. But there's nothing wrong with doing it by hand. Again, doing it by hand is extremely rewarding. You really complete a beautiful task.